The year is 2025. A 50-story tower rises in Seoul, South Korea. Its curves defy logic. Its energy consumption is 40% lower than traditional buildings. Its structural integrity has been certified as flawless. But here's what makes your blood run cold. No human architect designed it. An AI did, in 72 hours. What took human architects months, AI did in 3 days. And it wasn't just faster, it was better. Right now, as you hear these words, architectural firms across the world are laying off designers. Not because of budget cuts, not because of economic crisis, but because an algorithm can do in minutes what a master architect does in months. And the buildings? They're not just comparable, they're superior, more efficient, more beautiful, more structurally sound. The machines aren't coming for architecture, they're already here. And they're winning. Let me give you a number that should terrify every architecture student on Earth: 34%. That's how much the demand for entry-level architectural positions has dropped in the last 2 years. Not because people stopped building, we're building more than ever. But we're building with AI. Autodesk, one of the world's largest design software companies, reported that their AI-driven generative design tools are now being used by 67% of major architectural firms. Think about that. 2/3 of the industry has already invited the replacement into their studio. But this isn't just about software helping architects. This is about software replacing them. In China, an AI system called Xiaoyisi has designed over 200 residential complexes. In Dubai, an AI platform generated the blueprint for a vertical farm that produces 30% more yield per square foot than any human-designed structure. In Germany, Audi used AI to redesign their factory layout, achieving 22% more efficiency than their best human engineers could manage. These aren't experiments. These are real buildings, real structures, real replacements. And here's what keeps me awake at night. Architecture was supposed to be safe. It was supposed to be one of those sacred human professions: art, vision, creativity, soul, the kind of work that requires not just technical knowledge, but emotional intelligence, cultural understanding, historical awareness, the ability to look at a piece of land and imagine not just a building, but a legacy. But AI doesn't care about what was supposed to be safe. It only cares about patterns. And architecture, despite all its artistry, is built on patterns. There's a phrase echoing through every architecture school, every design studio, every firm that once believed their craft was untouchable. If your job follows a pattern, AI can replicate it faster, cheaper, and endlessly. And architecture? It's drowning in patterns, load calculations, material optimization, structural integrity, energy efficiency, spatial flow, traffic patterns, natural light distribution, ventilation systems, fire safety codes, zoning regulations. Every single one of these variables can be computed, analyzed, and optimized by an algorithm. And AI doesn't just optimize one or two variables, it optimizes all of them, simultaneously, perfectly. Norman Foster, one of the most celebrated architects of our time, said in a 2023 interview, "The tools have become so powerful that they're no longer just tools, they're collaborators, and soon they won't need us to collaborate with." He wasn't being dramatic, he was being honest. The man who designed the Gherkin, the Hearst Tower, the Reichstag Dome, looked at the trajectory of AI and saw his own profession's extinction event on the horizon. Let me take you inside a real architectural firm, a mid-sized studio in San Francisco. 23 employees, been in business for 31 years. Last year, they adopted an AI design platform called SpaceMaker. Within 6 months, they reduced their design team from 12 architects to 4. Not because the other 8 were incompetent, but because 4 architects using AI could produce more designs, faster, and with fewer errors than 12 architects using traditional methods. The owner, when interviewed, said something chilling. "I didn't want to let them go, but my competitors were already doing it, and their bids were coming in 30% lower than ours. It was adapt or die. Adapt or die, the cruelest 2 words in the modern economy. And architecture is learning them the hard way. Because AI doesn't just design buildings, it designs better buildings." A study from MIT's Department of Architecture and Planning analyzed 500 AI-generated building designs against 500 human-generated designs. The AI designs used 26% less material, had 31% better energy efficiency, and scored 18% higher on structural safety tests. And here's the kicker. When shown to a panel of architects without knowing which was AI and which was human, the AI designs were rated as more aesthetically pleasing 62% of the time, more efficient, safer, more beautiful, faster, cheaper. These aren't minor improvements, these are existential threats, because when a machine does your job better than you, your job ceases to exist. Not eventually. Now. The displacement isn't coming, it's here, and it's accelerating. But there's something even more unsettling, something that goes beyond efficiency and cost. It's about creativity itself. For centuries, we believed creativity was the one thing machines could never possess. The spark, the vision, the leap of imagination that turns empty space into meaning. But what if creativity isn't magic? What if it's just pattern recognition on a scale so vast that it feels like magic to us? Because that's exactly what AI is proving. It can recognize patterns in millions of buildings across human history, extract what makes them functional, beautiful, culturally resonant, and then synthesize new designs that honor those patterns while transcending them. There's a building in Tokyo designed entirely by AI. It's called the Spiral Tower. When it was unveiled, architectural critics were speechless. Not because it was shocking or ugly, but because it was breathtaking, elegant, organic. It looked like something Zaha Hadid might have dreamed. Except Zaha Hadid didn't dream it. A neural network did. And when asked how it arrived at that design, the AI couldn't explain. It had no story, no inspiration, no moment of clarity. It simply computed 47 million possible configurations and selected the optimal one. And we called it beautiful. So what happens to the dreamers? The young architect who spent 6 years in school, drowning in debt, fueled by the belief that they would one day design something that mattered. What happens to the firm that built its reputation on vision and soul? What happens to the profession that believed it was immune to mechanization because it dealt in art, not assembly? They wake up, and they realize the world moved on without asking permission. Welcome to the age where machines don't just assist architects, they replace them. Where algorithms don't just optimize buildings, they imagine them. Where the profession that once shaped skylines is being reshaped by silicon and code. This is the story of architecture's quiet extinction, and the question that will define the next generation. When a machine can design a building better than any human, what is an architect even for? If your job is to follow a pattern, you're not safe. If your job is to optimize variables, you're not safe. If your job is to create within constraints, you're not safe. Because AI thrives in constraints. It breathes patterns. It sees variables humans can't even name, and it never stops learning. Every building it designs makes it smarter. Every failure makes it better. Every iteration makes it faster. While human architects sleep, AI architects evolve. So what happens to those who refuse to adapt? We're about to find out. Because right now, across the world, There are thousands of architects who still believe their talent, their experience, their soul will protect them. They believe that clients will always want the human touch, that buildings need stories, not just structures, that architecture is about more than math and materials. And they're right, architecture is about more than math. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. AI is learning the more than math part too. It's learning culture, context, emotion, meaning. And it's learning it faster than any human ever could. There's a moment in every extinction event where the species realizes it's too late, where survival is no longer guaranteed, where the rules of existence have fundamentally changed and adaptation is no longer optional. Architecture is in that moment right now, and the clock is ticking. But history has a strange way of repeating itself. And if you look closely, you'll see that this story has been told before. Not with architects, but with weavers, blacksmiths, switchboard operators, bank tellers, travel agents. Every single one of them believed their job was sacred, necessary, irreplaceable. And every single one of them was wrong, not because they lacked skill, but because the world invented something better. In 1811, a group of English textile workers called the Luddites began smashing weaving machines. They weren't stupid. They weren't technophobic. They were terrified, because those machines could weave cloth faster and cheaper than any human. And they were right to be terrified. Within a generation, hand weaving as a profession was extinct. Tens of thousands of skilled workers became obsolete. Their knowledge, passed down through generations, became worthless overnight. And history remembers them as fools for resisting progress. But were they fools, or were they just human, watching their life's work evaporate, watching their children inherit nothing? Watching the world celebrate innovation while they starved. Progress always looks beautiful from the future. But from the present, it often looks like apocalypse. And that's where architects are right now, staring at their own weaving machines. Except these machines don't just weave fabric. They weave space itself. They don't just replace labor. They replace vision. And the world is celebrating. Look how fast we can build now. Look how cheap. Look how efficient. Look how beautiful. Aren't machines amazing? But let's talk about what's actually happening. Not the theory, not the potential, the reality. In 2023, a major architectural firm in London, Foster & Partners, one of the most prestigious names in the industry, announced they were piloting an AI-driven design system for residential projects. By early 2024, they had reduced their junior and mid-level architect positions by 40%. Not because of poor performance, not because of economic downturn, but because AI was doing their work. Faster, better, cheaper. And it's not just the big firms. Small studios are bleeding. A survey conducted by the American Institute of Architects found that 58% of small to mid-sized firms have reduced staff in the last 18 months due to AI adoption. Not expanded, reduced. The industry is contracting, and the only people thriving are the ones who own the algorithms. There's a company called TestFit. They offer AI-powered building design software. You input your site parameters, zoning codes, budget, and design preferences. The AI generates dozens of optimized building designs in minutes. Designs that would take a team of architects weeks to produce. And it costs $300 a month. $300. That's less than a single billable hour for a licensed architect. And it works 24 hours a day. Never gets tired, never makes mistakes, never asks for a raise. So if you're a developer choosing between hiring an architectural firm for $150,000 and subscribing to TestFit for $3,600 a year, what do you choose? The math isn't subtle, it's brutal, and it's happening everywhere. In every city, in every market, the economics of architecture are collapsing. And the architects? They're watching their profession get automated in real time. But here's the thing that makes this even more insidious. The AI isn't replacing bad architects. It's replacing good ones, because bad architects have already been filtered out by the market. The ones losing their jobs right now are talented, educated, experienced professionals. People who did everything right, who studied hard, who built portfolios, who earned licenses, who mentored others, and none of it mattered. Because when your value is based on skill and a machine has more skill, your value becomes zero. There's a 34-year-old architect in Berlin named Anna. She graduated top of her class, worked at 2 prestigious firms, won design awards, had a portfolio that made senior architects jealous. Last year, her firm adopted an AI platform called Hypar. Within 3 months, they told her they didn't need her anymore. Not because she wasn't good, but because the AI could do her job and the job of 3 other architects, simultaneously, with fewer errors. She spent 6 months looking for work. Every firm she interviewed with had the same story. You're incredibly talented. But we're not hiring, we're automating. She finally found work as a design consultant, not designing buildings, but training AI systems to design buildings, teaching the machine that replaced her how to be better at replacing her. And when asked how that feels, she said, "Like I'm writing my own eulogy." That's the psychological weight of this moment. It's not just about jobs. It's about meaning, purpose, identity. Architecture isn't just a profession. It's a calling. People don't become architects for money. They become architects because they want to shape the world, leave a mark, build something that outlasts them. And now they're being told that machines can do it better, that their dreams are inefficient, that their vision is obsolete, that their life's work can be replicated by an algorithm in 72 hours. And the world just shrugs, because the buildings are still beautiful, the skylines are still rising. And if you can't tell the difference between a human-designed building and an AI-designed building, does it even matter who designed it? That's the question haunting every architect right now. Does it matter? And the terrifying answer is, maybe not. Maybe architecture was never about the architect. Maybe it was always about the building. And if a machine can make a better building, then maybe the architect was just scaffolding, necessary for a time, but ultimately removable. But before we accept that future, before we let the machines take over completely, we need to understand something crucial about how technology actually changes professions. Because history shows us that replacement isn't the whole story. Transformation is. And transformation looks like death at first, but sometimes, if you survive long enough, it looks like rebirth. Let's go back to those textile workers, the Luddites, the ones history mocked. Yes, hand weaving died. But the textile industry didn't. It exploded. By 1850, the textile industry employed more people than ever before. Not as hand weavers, but as machine operators, factory managers, designers, distributors, retailers. The job didn't disappear. It evolved. And the people who adapted thrived. The people who didn't, history forgot them. Or look at the invention of photography in 1839. Portrait painters thought it was the end. Why pay an artist to paint your face when a camera could capture it perfectly in seconds? And they were right. Portrait painting as a mass profession died, but art didn't. Photography didn't kill painting. It freed it. Artists stopped trying to replicate reality and started exploring abstraction, impressionism, surrealism. The death of one form gave birth to a dozen others. Picasso couldn't have existed without the camera, because the camera took on the burden of realism, and artists could finally explore what reality felt like, not just what it looked like, or the internet. In 1995, people said it would kill bookstores, newspapers, record stores, travel agents, and countless other professions. And it did. Tower Records is gone. Borders Books is gone. Blockbuster is gone. But the people who worked there, most of them didn't vanish. They adapted. Some became content creators, some became digital marketers, some started e-commerce businesses, some learned to code. The jobs changed. The humans didn't disappear. They transformed. And that's what's happening with architecture right now. It's not ending. It's transforming. But transformation requires something most people don't have: courage. The courage to let go of what you were trained to be. The courage to admit that your degree might not matter anymore. The courage to start over. To learn new tools. To redefine what it means to be an architect in an age of AI. Because here's the secret that no one's talking about. AI can design buildings, but it can't dream them. It can optimize structures, but it can't imagine why they matter. It can calculate spatial efficiency, but it can't feel what it's like to walk through a space and be moved to tears. It can analyze historical styles, but it can't understand why a building makes you feel safe, or free, or small in the face of something greater than yourself. AI can replicate pattern, but it can't create meaning. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And that's where the opportunity lives, not in competing with AI. You can't. You'll lose. But in partnering with it, in using it as a tool, not a replacement, in letting the machine handle the math so you can focus on the magic. Because the future of architecture isn't human versus machine. It's human with machine. And the architects who understand that will thrive. The ones who resist it will vanish. There's an architect in Copenhagen named Bjarke Ingels, one of the most innovative designers alive. His firm, BIG, uses AI extensively, not to replace architects, but to amplify them. They feed the AI parameters, constraints, and objectives. The AI generates thousands of options, and then human architects select, refine, and infuse meaning. The result? Buildings that are structurally optimized by machine intelligence and emotionally resonant through human vision. The AI handles the physics, the humans handle the poetry, and together they create things neither could alone. That's the model. That's the path forward. Not resistance, partnership. Because AI is inevitable, but obsolescence isn't. You become obsolete when you refuse to evolve, when you cling to old methods because they're familiar, when you mistake tradition for wisdom, when you let fear paralyze you. But if you can face the fear and adapt anyway, you don't become obsolete. You become essential in a new way. And here's the beautiful part. Every time a machine replaces a task, it creates space for humans to do something new. Something deeper, something that matters more. When calculators replaced human computers, mathematicians didn't vanish. They stopped calculating and started theorizing. When Excel automated accounting, accountants didn't vanish. They stopped bookkeeping and started advising. When AI started diagnosing X-rays, radiologists didn't vanish. They stopped staring at scans and started having conversations with patients. The pattern is clear. Machines take the repetitive. Humans take the meaningful. And architecture is no different. The machines will design the standard, the efficient, the optimized. And humans will design the sacred, the monumental, the spaces that make people weep because they touch something primal and inexplicable. We'll design the buildings that have no reason to exist except that they must, because they mean something. And meaning, so far, is still ours. But here's the hard truth. You don't get to keep being an architect just because you want to. You have to earn it. You have to prove that you offer something the machine doesn't. And that requires brutal self-honesty. You have to ask yourself, what part of my job is pattern recognition, and what part is genuine creativity? What part is technical skill, and what part is vision? What part could an AI replicate tomorrow, and what part is uniquely, irreplaceably human? And if you're honest, you'll realize that most of what you do right now is replicable. The floor plans, the structural calculations, the material selections, the code compliance, the rendering, the documentation, all of it. AI can do all of it. So if that's all you offer, you're already gone. You just don't know it yet. But if you can do more than that, if you can listen to a client and hear not just what they want, but what they need, if you can look at a site and feel its history, its spirit, its potential, if you can take constraints and turn them into poetry, if you can design not just buildings but experiences, not just structures but stories, then you're safe. Not because AI can't learn those things eventually, but because right now it can't. And by the time it does, you'll have moved even further ahead. Because that's the race. Not human versus machine, but human evolution versus machine evolution. And the beautiful thing about humans is that we evolve through meaning, not just data. We learn from stories, emotions, failures, love, loss, wonder. And those are things machines can't shortcut. Not yet. So if you're an architect or an architecture student, or someone who dreamed of designing buildings, here's what you do. First, you audit your job. Every single task you perform, every skill you rely on, and you ask, could a machine do this? If the answer is yes, that task is temporary. Don't build your career on it. Learn it, use it, but don't depend on it, because it's going away. Second, you learn to use AI, not as a threat, as a tool, because the architects who survive won't be the ones who avoid AI. They'll be the ones who master it, who push it further than anyone else, who use it to explore design spaces no human could navigate alone. The best architects of 2030 won't be the ones who can draw the best by hand. They'll be the ones who can dream the biggest and then command an AI to make it real. Third, you build something that's yours, not just a portfolio, a perspective, a philosophy, a style, a voice, something that makes your work recognizable, irreplaceable. Because in a world where everyone has access to the same AI tools, differentiation isn't technical anymore. It's human. It's taste, judgment, story, soul, the things that can't be automated, the things that make someone choose you over the algorithm. And fourth, you own your value. You don't wait for a firm to hire you. You don't wait for permission. You create, you build. You start your own practice, your own platform, your own brand. Because the future doesn't belong to employees. It belongs to owners. People who control their tools, their narrative, their income. AI makes this easier, not harder. You don't need a team of 20 anymore. You need a vision and a laptop. And if your vision is strong enough, the world will pay attention. There's a 28-year-old architect in Austin, Texas named Marcus. He graduated in 2021, right into the teeth of AI disruption. He applied to 50 firms, got 3 interviews, 0 offers. Everyone said the same thing: we're not hiring, we're automating. So he stopped applying. He bought a subscription to an AI design platform. He started designing homes for individuals who couldn't afford traditional architectural firms. Tiny homes, renovations, backyard studios, projects too small for big firms to bother with. And he charged a fraction of what they would. Within a year, he had 40 clients. Within 2 years, he had a wait list. He's now building the kind of practice traditional architects dream of, not despite AI, because of it. That's the playbook. That's how you survive. Not by resisting the future, but by running toward it faster than anyone else, by seeing the tools others fear and using them better, by understanding that the profession isn't dying. It's splitting into those who adapt and those who don't, those who evolve and those who extinct. And the only difference between the two is choice. Adaptation isn't just intelligence, it's survival written in human code. It's the same instinct that carried our ancestors through ice ages, plagues, wars, and every other extinction-level event history threw at us. We survived not because we were the strongest, but because we were the most adaptable. Because when the world changed, we changed with it. And architecture is no different. The world is changing. The tools are changing. The economics are changing. And the only question that matters is, will you? Because here's what they don't tell you in architecture school. Your degree isn't a guarantee. Your talent isn't a shield. Your passion isn't a paycheck. The world doesn't owe you a career just because you want one. It only rewards the people who create value. And if a machine creates more value than you, the world will choose the machine. That's not cruelty. That's reality. And reality doesn't negotiate. But reality also doesn't have the final say on who you become. You do. You get to decide whether this moment breaks you or builds you, whether AI is your replacement or your renaissance, whether you spend the next decade mourning what architecture used to be or creating what it's about to become. And that choice, right now, is yours. There's a moment in every transformation where the old world hasn't quite died and the new world hasn't quite been born. And in that moment, everything feels like chaos, like loss, like the end. But that moment is also the most fertile ground for creation that will ever exist. Because the rules are rewriting themselves, the barriers are collapsing, the gatekeepers are losing power, and anyone brave enough to build in the rubble can shape what comes next. That's where architecture is right now, in the rubble. And yes, it's terrifying, but it's also exhilarating. Because for the first time in a century, the profession is wide open. You don't need a famous firm's name on your resume. You don't need a Pritzker Prize. You don't need permission from the old guard. You just need a vision and the courage to pursue it. And if your vision is strong enough, AI won't replace you. It'll amplify you. But you have to move. You have to act. You have to stop waiting for the world to go back to the way it was. Because it won't. The architects who are thriving right now aren't the ones hoping AI goes away. They're the ones learning to dance with it, to use it, to push it, to take its speed and combine it with their soul. And the result isn't human or machine. It's something new, something better. Every machine replaces a task, but never a dream. AI can design a building, but it can't dream of a world where that building changes lives. It can optimize space, but it can't imagine why that space should exist. It can follow patterns, but it can't break them in ways that matter. That's still ours. That's still human. And as long as we remember that, we're not obsolete, we're essential. So here's the resolution, the choice, the moment where you decide who you're going to be in this new world. You can resist, you can mourn, you can fight the tide and watch it drown you, or you can adapt, you can learn, you can evolve. You can take the tools that terrify everyone else and use them to build something no one's ever seen. You can stop being an architect who draws buildings and start being an architect who shapes futures. The profession isn't dying, it's shedding skin. And the architects who survive will be the ones who understand that their value isn't in their hands, it's in their hearts. It's in their ability to see a piece of land and imagine not just what fits there, but what belongs there, what the world needs there. What will make people stop and stare and feel something they can't name? That's not a skill you learn in school. It's not a skill AI can replicate. It's a skill you're born with. And if you have it, nothing can take it from you. Not automation, not algorithms, not the future. But if you don't have it, no amount of talent will save you. Because the world doesn't need more people who can design buildings. It needs people who can design meaning. And meaning is the one thing machines can't manufacture. Not because they lack the data, but because they lack the desperation, the longing, the absurd, beautiful, tragic need to create something that outlasts you, to leave a mark, to matter. That's human. That's the ours. And it always will be. So audit your skills, adapt to the tools, build something that's yours, own your futures. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for safety. Don't wait for the storm to pass, because the storm isn't passing. It's the new weather. And the only people who thrive in storms are the ones who learn to sail. Audit, adapt, build, own. Those 4 words are the difference between extinction and evolution, between becoming obsolete and becoming legendary, between watching the future happen and creating it. And right now, in this moment, you get to choose. Humanity isn't ending. It's just beginning again. Architecture isn't dying. It's being reborn. And the architects who understand that, who embrace that, who run toward the fire instead of away from it, they're the ones who will define the next century. Not the machines, not the algorithms. The humans who refused to be replaced, who adapted, who evolved, who took the tools of their own extinction and turned them into wings. That's the choice. That's the moment. And it's happening right now. So what are you going to do? Are you going to mourn the past or build the future? Are you going to let AI replace you? Or are you going to use AI to become something no one's ever seen? The profession is transforming. The question is, will you transform with it? Subscribe if you believe in human evolution, not extinction. Because this story isn't over. It's just beginning. And the architects who survive won't be the ones who resisted change. They'll be the ones who became it.